Hi, Shelley here from Spin Cushions, and this is my pattern called Oresund. I'm sure I'm saying that incorrectly, but it's from my Siren's Atlas collection, and I'm going to show you how to make it. So I'm going to be using a single colour, but if you wish to change colours, I'll let you know if you need to do anything different at certain rounds to if you want to change colours. So I'm going to start off with a magic circle, or you can start off with chain 4 that you join into a loop if you like. So round 1 is a chain 3 starting chain, or a false stitch like I like to do. I have a YouTube channel explaining that in detail if you want. Then a treble UK or WS. Then it's chain 2 and 2 more stitches. We're going to repeat that little repeat, 2 chain and 2 stitches 6 more times, so we'll end up with 8 groups of 2 stitches and 8 2 chain spaces. I'll do all that and I'll show you how to join up at the end. Alright, I've done all of my repeats, so now it's time to pull that magic circle tight. Now if you're changing colours, you chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to your first stitch, but I'm not changing colours, so what I'm going to do is chain 1. Now if you're not used to working my patterns, it's a good idea to pop a little scrap of yarn in the gap here. And now I'm going to join with a double crochet UK or single crochet US to the top of my first stitch. So insert my hook, pull a loop to the front, then yarn over through 2. So what that does, it kind of puts me in the middle of what would be a 2 chain space between the other stitches. Okay, so now what we're going to do is do chain 3 or false stitch. Then the next instruction says to do a treble UK WS over the joining stitch, which is where that stitch marker is. That's why it comes in handy. Then we're going to skip these 2 stitches, and in the next 2 chain space, and every 2 chain space, we're going to do 3 trebles UK or doubles US. 1, 2, 3. Skip the next 2 stitches, and in the next 2 chain space 3 more stitches. 1, 2, 3. So I'll do that and come and show you how to finish off this round. Okay, so I've done all of my repeats. Now all I need to do is a stitch in the same place as our first stitches to turn this into a 3 treble group like the others. So where that stitch marker is in that hole, I'm going to do 1 more stitch, and then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to our first stitch. It's the same whether you're changing colours or not. I'll take that out. Okay, round 3. Now it sounds like there's a long instruction in here, but it really is not that difficult. You can do it. So we start with chain 3 or starting chain. Then we do a stitch in the next stitch, treble UK or double US. Now, it's got a long instruction. It says beginning around the stitch just worked, so this one here, we're going to front post treble 2 together. Okay. So you start by doing a yarn over, loop to the front, yarn over through 2, and then around the next one, yarn over through 2, and then we're going to yarn over through all 3. And then we're going to do a stitch in the stitch the last leg was around. We do a stitch in that one. Okay. Then we're going to do a stitch in the next 2 stitches. Okay, so I'll show you that again. So now we're up to the front post stitch 2 together. So yarn over and around the stitch we just worked into, the last one of that 3 treble group. We start a front post stitch, stop there, then we do around this next stitch, the first one of the next 3 group, start another front post stitch, then we finish them off, and then we do a stitch in that stitch we just worked the second leg of that two together around, and then we do a stitch in the next stitch. So the middle ones of the three group are the only ones that have just one stitch in them. The other stitches have a stitch in them and around them. So take your time, but I'm sure you will be able to figure it out. That's what gives us the little starry sort of shapes. I'll work my way around and show you how to finish off this round. Okay, I'm almost finished. I'm just going to do my last little front post stitches. So start that one, start the next one, and our last stitch of the round is that stitch in the one behind it. And then we are going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch. It's the same whether you're changing colours or not. Okay, right, round 4. Chain 3 starting chain or false stitch. Then we're going to chain 1. We're going to do a stitch, treble UK WS in the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 1. We're going to do a front post stitch around the next stitch, which is the two we did together. So just underneath both of those legs, around the front. Then we're going to 3 times do this little repeat. Chain 1, stitch in the next stitch. Now that is that one there, it's sort of hiding a little bit behind there. That's 1, chain 1, stitch in the next stitch, chain 1, stitch in the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do that front post stitch again. So every stitch will have a stitch in it, and we will be doing a front post stitch around that one there. So I'll do that all the way around and come back and meet you at the end. Okay, I've almost made my way around. I just need to do chain 1 and just need to not forget that last stitch, which is in this stitch that's kind of hidden behind. Then chain 1 and join with a slip stitch again, regardless whether you're changing colour or not. Okay, so that is round 4 done. Round 5. Chain 3 starting chain. We're going to start squaring off in this round. Then we're going to do 2 stitches in the same stitch we joined our slip stitch into. 1, 2. We're going to skip a 1 chain space, and then 6 times we're going to do this little repeat. A double crochet UK, single crochet US in the next stitch, and the same stitch in the 1 chain space. So 6 times of doing that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to do a stitch in the next stitch. We're going to skip that 1 chain space, and in the next stitch we're going to do 3 trebles UK, doubles US, 2 chain and 3 trebles UK or doubles US. So 3 stitches, 2 chain and 3 stitches, all in that same stitch. Okay, so that's our side, all those small stitches, and our corners are the large stitches. So I'll do my repeats and I'll come back and show you how to finish off for this round. Okay, so I've done all of my repeats. The last thing to do is just to do 3 stitches in the same space as our first stitches, which is here. 1, 2, 3. Now if you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch to your first stitch. If you're not changing colours like me, just like in the first round, we're going to chain 1, pop stitch marker in, and join with a double crochet UK or single crochet US. So insert your hook, loop to the front, yarn over through 2. So that's placed us like we're in the middle of a 2 chain space of the other corners. Okie dokie, round 6. We're going to chain 2 starting chain this time, as this round is made of half trebles UK or half doubles US. So the first instruction is to do a half stitch over the joining stitch, which is where this stitch marker is. Oops. Okay, then we're going to do a half stitch in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. Now in the next stitch we're going to do 2 stitches, 2 half stitches in the next stitch. 1, 2. Then we're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and we're going to do a double crochet UK, single crochet US in the next 9 stitches. So it's 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to skip 2 stitches. We're going to do 2 stitches in the next stitch, 2 half trebles UK, half doubles US. And then we're going to do a half stitch, 1 half stitch in the next 2 stitches. Okay. Now our corners in this round are 2 half stitches, half trebles UK, half doubles US, chain 2 and 2 half stitches. So there you go. Just keep in mind those stitches where you need to do 2 stitches in one, and all will be well. I'll do that all the way around and show you how to finish off. Okay, so I've done all my repeats. Now I just need to do 2 half stitches in the same space as our first stitch, which is where that stitch marker is. 1, 2. Now if you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. I'm not changing colours, so I'm going to chain 1, move that stitch marker and join to the top of my second chain of my starting chain. If I can get it in, with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Okay, the next round. Alright, we're going to chain 3 starting chain or false stitch. Then 7 times we're going to do this little repeat. Chain 2, and we're going to treble crochet 2 stitches together, UK terms, or treble crochet 2 stitches together, sorry, double crochet 2 stitches together, US terms, but over the next 3 stitches. So we're starting in the first stitch, then we're going to skip the next stitch and then end our 2 stitches together in the third stitch. Okay, that's our little repeat. So we're chain 2, so we're crocheting 2 stitches together over 3 stitches, skipping the middle stitch. So we begin in the next stitch, skip a stitch, begin in the third stitch, then finish it off, and chain 2. So that's 2 repeats, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 should finish us in the last stitch, and it does. Then we chain 2, and our corners in this round are 1 stitch, treble UK WS, chain 2, and 1 stitch. So there you go, that's our sides and our corners. I'll work around and show you how to finish off. Okay, so I've done all my repeats. All I need to do now is a stitch in the same space as our first stitch, which is where that stitch marker is. If you're changing colours, chain 2, join with a slip stitch. If you're not changing colours, chain 1, oops, and join with a double crochet UK, single crochet US. Okay, and we're on to our last round. We're going to do a double crochet UK, single crochet US over the joining stitch where the stitch marker is. We're going to do a stitch in that next stitch. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to skip these stitches and do 2 stitches in each of the 2 chain spaces. So double crochet UK, single crochet US, 2 stitches, 1, 2, we'll skip that stitch and just do 2 in the next. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Then we do a stitch in that last stitch of the round, and our corners are 1 stitch, chain 2, 1 stitch. So all double crochets UK or single crochets US. I'll come back and show you how to finish this one off. Okay, so I've worked my way all the way around. Our last stitch is to do a stitch in the same place as our first stitches, which is where that stitch marker is. Stitch that, and we're going to chain 2 and join with a slip stitch to our first stitch. And we'll snip it off. There we go, it will benefit from a quick block. So there we go, Oresund, I'm not sure on how to say that properly. It's quite similar in size to in the Bendigo Woolen Mills Cascade Ultra Pima Cotton. But if you do need to alter this size, if you need to make it bigger and repeat that last round or make that last round of half stitches. If you want to make it smaller, you can leave off that last round, but it does leave quite a lacy edge with those chain spaces. So the other alternative is to do the whole thing with a smaller hook, half a size smaller perhaps. But really I think it should be pretty well right. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that, and make sure you check out spincushions.com for some more crochet fun. Thank you. Bye.